All right, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. We're going to open the Town of Trumbull's Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission special work session for application 24-06, Lot 4, West Misha Road, rather. Today's date is July 22nd, 2024. I'm going to ask our clerk to do a roll call if she would.
Richard Gerard,
Present.
John Loria,
Here.
Carmine DeFeo,
Here.
David Verespi,
Present.
Craig Cernica,
Present.
Robert Ferrigno,
Present.
town staff Tatiana Solove,
Here.
John Mayer,
Here.
William Marr,
Here.
and Attorney Cordone.
I am here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Colleen. For the record, another commissioner, Richard Deacon, will not be participating as he had not been a commissioner when this first came on to our agenda. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Attorney Cordone to discuss a video conference meeting. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As has been this commission's practice, we are, pursuant to Connecticut law, conducting this meeting by video conference over the telephone and the internet. There's no public comment in this meeting tonight. There's not a public hearing. This is just a work session. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the town website 24 hours in advance of the meeting, along with a link for the public to view and participate. I do see that public is observing the meeting now. Materials for this application were posted with the previous agendas well in advance of this meeting. And I would ask participants and members to make sure that they're acknowledged by the chair before speaking. And I would ask that all votes be conducted by a roll call vote. And of course, this meeting is being recorded. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Attorney Cordone. All right, after reviewing and digesting the information materials for this application, I will now poll the commissioners to see if they are in favor of approval or denial of this application. John Loria.
Mr. Chairman, are you just taking an unofficial
It's a straw poll, just so we know where our position is.
Understood what the question was. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
John?
Well, prior to any discussion, I'm leaning towards denial because I think it will still be an impact.
All right, so you're in favor of denial, Greg?
I'm in favor of denial.
David?
I'm on the fence on this one.
All right.
I wanted to talk about it.
All right, Carmine?
I also am leaning towards denial, but I have some questions I'd like to propose and get answers for.
Bob?
I'm in favor of denial.
Okay, and I'll go on the record that I'm in favor of denial. At this point, let's go with your thoughts as to what you're having, David, so we can move on to the meeting here.
I'm just looking at the application. It's certainly a very creative approach to the situation. I have concerns about legal precedent here. If this project were to be approved, what sort of impact it would have on other lots around town. I know each application is supposed to stand on its own, but this certainly sets a very clear departure from the approvals that this board has approved in the past. I look at the proposal and it's sort of, the argument could be made or the question could be asked of, okay, you allow roads to cross wetlands. This is a house. There is definitely a distinct difference between accessing a property and, putting a living unit over the property. So there's that question. They have presented an alternative to the project, which I find is very appealing. It is certainly a structure that's more in keeping with the cottages that are found at that end of Pinewood Lake and in the immediate neighborhood. So I think it would be, in keeping with the character of the area. Then there's the question of, what is the real impact to the wetlands? And, nobody can prove what's there today, and nobody can prove what's going to be there or not be there in 5 or 10 years. It will have a noticeable impact and a long-term impact on the wetlands and the function of the wetlands and the vegetation that's supported in that area. They're very easy tools where you can do light studies to show a shading study that was not provided by the applicant, where, we could glean some information about, how much shade is going to be cast underneath the building. I mean, there's very simple tools out there in AutoCAD that they could have used to do that, and they did not. It's just, there's a lot about this application that, it is a very, very creative approach, and I applaud them on their ability to come up with a creative approach, but I'm still not really in favor of, changing the direction of this board and the types of projects we've approved, and, keeping the structures within the dry part of the property. And this is, this would be a departure from that. So that's where my head is.
All right, thank you, David. Carmine, you had some thoughts?
Yes, some of my questions or comments are the same that Dave just mentioned. In particular, more information on the light and everything, lack of light as far as what it would be doing to the plant life in the wetland area. In addition, trying to find my notes. It was more housekeeping in the review comments and everything. There were a number of comments on page 3, in particular, where they've been highlighted as pending, and exactly, is there going to be additional information provided? There were like 7 or 8 of them. The other thing is, they mentioned about having the conservation easement, and I'm not quite sure I see any difference in the area that they're designating as the conservation easement as, in contradiction to what is the wetlands, and the wetlands has its own protection. So I don't see what we'd be gaining by having a conservation easement. And that was all, the conservation easement was to offset the area under the house where plant life could be, compromised by the lack of sunlight. And right now, I think that would be the 2 most prevalent ones that I have.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, David.
Carmine,
David.
one of the things with the conservation easement, there are certain, and Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, there are certain uses that are allowed within the wetlands that property owners can apply for, like farming, raising livestock, that sort of stuff. With a conservation easement, those things would not be allowed. So it sort of really locks the it's the utmost protection for the wetlands from a conservation standpoint, and keeping them pristine. And Jim Cordone, am I wrong on that, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the conservation easement whether it is the same as the wetlands or a greater area than the wetlands is probably a greater protections. It's meant to be left in its sort of natural state. So that's the intention of the conservation easement. I hope that's helpful.
That answers.
And through the chair,
Go ahead, Tatiana.
I just wanted to answer Carmine's comment about pending comments, engineering comments. So those are rather standard and they could be addressed as condition of approval. That's it. Thank you.
All
Through
right.
the chair,
Go ahead, John.
may I put my thoughts on this? Well, over all these years of being on the wetland, we've
Breaking
John,
up,
you're
John.
breaking up.
okay. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Oh, much better, John.
Okay, gotten a little close. All of these years of being on the wetland, I've never first seen an application that doesn't conform to zoning requirements. So right off the bat, if we've never received something like that, would never be considered a prudent alternative. But in this case, we're trying to separate land use boards from environmental boards. So I guess been asked not to consider any things. However, now we're trying to, we said that putting a bridge house over a wetland has no effect. Yeah, it's the same to me as putting a box culvert into a stream, considered filling by the DEP. Also, the evidence about how much shading and how much light is going to be in there is complete conjecture. The only person who even testified about the amount of light that's in there, if I recall, is the attorney himself, Attorney Hollister. And he said, if I can remember right, it was refraction and light bends around corners and stuff and physics. And I found that all to be voodoo. As somebody who has an engineering background and has worked in optics for the last 30 years, it's scattered light that brings that amount of light into that area. There's been no scientific study of such. And sorry, David, but you can't model this with AutoCAD or anything like that. You need a sophisticated program. You have to understand all the surroundings and what kind of light scattering you're going to get. So if you have dark objects nearby, you're going to get less light refracted in there. So I consider, in my opinion, the whole placement of the house is wetland filling. So therefore, I think the environmental damage that can result of such a thing should be considered, and that's, I think we should check it out. Okay, I'm on the record.
Are you good?
Yep.
Any other comments before I go for a motion? Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I'm for denial. You simply go back. We brought in an outside expert. He is contrary to what the application's environmental spokesperson was saying, but we brought in an expert. He clearly talked about the shading, problem with the plants, and he called the activity, it was a significant activity, what was going to happen. I mean, that's what we brought an expert in, and that's what I'm leaning on. And additionally, David brought it up, and a few other people have been talking about it. Part of our role is asking for alternatives. They didn't really give us documentation on that until late. We had a couple of hearings late in this process. And I think there is an alternative. And like John is saying, it's tough to say there's no, they're arguing, well, that we can't get zoning approval or whatever. But at this point, environmentally, that's an alternative for the site. So that's why I'm leaning toward denying.
All right, any other comments before I move for a motion? All right, Greg, I'm going to ask for a motion for denial.
Okay, I have a lot of language here that came out of Mr. Ryder's report. But anyway, I make a motion to deny application 2406 for a permit to construct a single-family residence within a regulated area at Lot 4, West Misha Road, for the following reasons. Reason 1, the commission finds the proposed activity will cause an adverse impact to the wetlands. This conclusion is based in part on the expert opinion of an independent third-party environmental peer review from Mr. Thomas Ryder, a certified ecologist from Landtech, and the Landtech report, which was dated June 28th, 2024, and Mr. Ryder's testimony given at the July 2nd, 2024 meeting identified the specific proposed development would create direct permanent physical wetland impact, specifically including, but not limited to, the following. The house will permanently shade the wetland, causing direct physical wetland impact in the form of temperature changes, plant composition, and wetland chemistry, resulting in wetland functions being lost and or altered. B, this proposal reduces the area of the wetland capable of supporting plants through the shading under the house, reducing the area of wetland capable of supporting plants. C, the area of the wetland that no longer is capable of supporting plant life will no longer have stabilized soil by root zones and therefore will have higher risk of erosion along the water course, causing turbidity and sedimentation. And D, the proposed activity is a significant activity. And reason 2, the commission finds there exists feasible and prudent alternatives to the proposed regulated activity, which alternatives would cause less environmental impact to the wetlands or watercourses. Specifically under tab 1 of the applicant's response to comments and questions from the June 4th, 2024 hearing dated June 24th, 2024, and presented at the July 2nd meeting, the applicant identified alternative plan for a single-family home with a building footprint of approximately 22 feet by 31 feet, slab on grade, situated north of the wetlands along West Misha Road. The alternative plan does not bridge the wetlands. Proposals for the house of similar size and in this vicinity are feasible and prudent alternatives and will be specified as such in writing in the commission's decisions letter to the applicant. The alternatives are feasible in that such a house could be constructed with the sound engineering principles. The alternatives are prudent in that the cost to construct such a home in this area is reasonable. And the alternatives could require additional zoning approvals and or waivers. However, the current application also requires zoning approvals and or waivers. That's the end of the motion.
And I need a second on the motion. I see Bob Ferrigno's hand up, so you're seconding it. All right, any discussion before we go to vote?
Yes,
Go ahead, John.
it's a very long but detailed motion. I like it, a lot of thought put into it, but I think we should also include one of our statutes, like from our regulations, like 10.2, 10.2A, just so that we've also given another reason as well that we referenced the statute itself. Is that seem agreeable to you as well, Greg?
I'm sorry, John, what was that again? I heard 10.A.
We should sorry about that, you didn't hear it. We should also include one of our own statutes in the motion itself, like 10.2, 10.2A, which is
I have to look at it. 10.2 is
environmental impact.
right.
That's really what we're getting down to. All the other words are fine. I think we should include that. And perhaps the lawyer agrees. Jim, do you agree that we should also include a statute?
Commissioner Laurie, I'm sorry, could you state again the section you want to reference,
10.2A, I believe.
The environmental impact of the proposed regulated activity on wetlands or watercourses, including the effects on the inlands, wetlands, and watercourses' capacity to support fish, and wildlife to prevent flooding, to supply and protect surface and groundwaters, to control sediment, to facilitate drainage, and to control pollution, to support recreational activities and promote public health and safety. It's kind of same stuff. So you're saying,
Pretty general catch-all.
I think that Commissioner Cernika's motion, the reason probably speaks to 10.2A, but you can certainly reference that as your criteria of decision is 10.2A and 10.2B, which is a feasible and prudent alternative, which you also mentioned. So you can make an amendment to make that reference or references.
want me to make that?
If you could, Greg.
Okay, and I'd like to.
I'm only bolstering your motion.
Yeah, it's just Commissioner Laurie, you're correct. You're just referencing
our criteria for decision 10.2A and 10.2B.
Yeah, thank you.
Need a second on that amendment.
Second.
I see Bob Ferrigno's hand up. Good.
Then, Mr. Chairman, any further discussion on that amendment?
I don't see any hands up. Are we good?
Okay, so now you're just going to vote on the amendment to add that reference.
Okay, well, John, yes, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Verbal, yes. Greg,
Yes.
David,
I'm in agreement with the motion, so yes.
Carmine,
Yes,
Bob Ferrigno,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so it's unanimous with the 6 of us. So now do we go to the actual motion?
So now you've amended the motion to deny with that the additional reference. And then if you have any further discussion, that's up to you, Mr. Chairman, and the commission. And if not, you can then call the.
All right, at this point, I think we're good, so I will call for the vote on the motion that's on the floor. John Loria,
I'm in favor. Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Carmine,
yes,
Bob,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so it's unanimous for denial of application 24-06 for lot 4 on West Misha Road. Okay.
Mr. Cernica, your motion was lengthy, so maybe if you have that in written form, we can also get that to
Colleen,
please. You can copy me on that.
will do.
All right, is there anything else? Otherwise, I will thank you all for your diligence that you show in being on this commission, and I will wish you a good summer and catch you in September. There'd be no
See you in
objection.
September.
We do have a walk. We have a walk in August, though, right?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
Yes, and Colleen will send out reminders on that.
Through the chair,
Go ahead,
do we want
Tatiana.
the minutes as posted on our agenda, or?
Oh, yeah. Minutes. I don't know if Carmine is ready for that right now, right?
I didn't hear Tatiana's comment or question.
It's about the minutes.
I did not review them. I was gonna leave that for the September meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see a problem with that, right, Attorney Cordone?
If anyone else did review them, it would be helpful to approve them. If we haven't, then we will do it in September. That's fine.
All right, I don't see anybody's hand up, so we'll do them in September.
No worries.
Right.
That's fine.
All right, if there be no objection, I move to adjourn, and I thank you all. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chin.
Thank you, everyone, for a meeting in the afternoon. I know staff appreciates that, so thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know.
Bye.
Anything for our staff.
Take care now.